welcome to our Visit Malta webinar, where I'm here chatting to Peter Green from Visit Malta and Gozo. So over the next 20-25 minutes, we'll be finding everything that there is to need to know about this beautiful destination. So just before we get started and start chatting to Peter, I'll just give you a few little ground rules. So first of all, we'll be doing questions towards the end of the webinar. So at this point, if you wanted to put the questions in the little chat comment section, and that way I can read them out to Peter and we can get his answers on these. And then secondly, if you could keep your microphone off for the duration of this webinar, that would be brilliant. So as I said, if you need to ask us anything, just pop it into the little comments section below. So with that, we'll pop over to Peter. So, hey, Peter, great to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me back. It's been nearly a year since we last did ITTN, isn't it? So, yeah. Happy 1 year anniversary.
Great.
It's good to be back. So, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that, you're on mute. You're on mute. We're still learning maybe the time, aren't we? So, no, thank you very much for having me back.
Brilliant. Cheers, Peter. So I suppose last time around, we focused mainly on Malta when I was speaking to you. But today, we're going to talk a little bit more about the beautiful, as you say, the little sister island.
Yes. Good memory. Good memory. Yeah, I think we're just talking a little bit more about Gozo, what it has to offer, why it should be seen as more of an actual long stay break rather than maybe just a 1 day break that a lot of people tend to go for when they're out there. And really just maybe some of the sights and sounds and even the smells. I mean, you can't smell through a webinar, but you know what I mean of what is found on the island of Gozo and probably why it's one of my favorite places in and around the archipelago as well. So yeah, hopefully we can cover off everything and there'll be lots of questions at the end as well. So it'll be interesting.
Brilliant. So first off, we're going to start with just getting to Malta and getting to Gozo in the first place. So we've got a couple of good route options straight out of Dublin, and we also have...
Well, we have Shannon as well, which so we last time around we were talking just after the launch of that. So Shannon became massively popular for us, especially over sort of like the summer months. We were 100% load factor all the way through, which was great. So it was extended as a year-round flight now, so you can actually use that Shannon route throughout the winter in there as well. As you say, you've got the Dublin, and quite exciting, especially for those agents maybe up more in the north side of Ireland. If you've got that option of Belfast, we've just had launch for next year, 2024, Belfast flying over as well. So now, obviously, depending on where you're located, we've got plenty of options. So we're hoping to see a lot more come through in the coming months and hopefully into next year as well. So yeah, nice and easy, 3.5 hour flight. Get you down into Malta and you're down into our lovely little archipelago. So
Brilliant. And so with that, so you get into Malta. It's a small enough island.
Yeah, I mean, the actual main island of Malta is only 45 kilometers long. So it's nice and easy to navigate around, no matter where you are. And previously we had one ferry option, and we still have that ferry option, which is up in the north of the island, up in Cherkawa. And the ferry itself over to Gozo from there takes 25 minutes. It's like a passenger and car ferry. So you can actually, if you're hiring a car, you can drive onto the ferry. You don't have to pre-book it or anything like that. And you actually just pay on your return. So if you were just technically going over to Gozo for your week-long holiday, you only can go over, stay in Gozo, and then you can pay on the way back, and it's one cost kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember just back in my days as being a travel agent, I was always intimidated when you said, okay, you get a flight and then you have to get a ferry, and you're scrambling on the internet to find about the ferry, but it's so super simple.
Very easy. As I say, you can even get buses, or you can get taxis from the airport in the area up straight to the north of the island. It's not too far away, and as I say, you're straight onto the ferry, and again, it's very easy to navigate. There's no pre-booking or anything like that. You just walk straight on, and there's a bar on board, there's a shop on board. So if you figure you need to buy anything for your accommodation over on Gozo, you can pick up these things when you get onto the ferry as well. And as I say, it's only 25 minutes from that north side. So a bit exciting. We also have a new ferry going from Valletta directly. So if you've got some customers who want to maybe do 2 or 3 days in Valletta, have a little bit of a city break, they can then get the passenger ferry from Valletta. And as I say, this is a passenger ferry, so you can't drive onto the ferry. It is just for foot passengers. But it takes about 45 minutes. It's €7.50 each way.
Right.
So you can pay obviously to get over and pay on the way back. But it's very beautiful on board. You've got Wi-Fi on board. You've got lovely comfy leather seats. You can even upgrade to club class. As we recently said in the preview, didn't we? Which I have done, and kind of get this whole like business class kind of style with the private booth, which is beautiful. And as I say, that takes you up over there and takes about 45 minutes, and it's a great little location. And you pull into the same ferry port into Manjar as well. So 2 options now. So you got up in the north 25 minutes, or you've got from Valletta 45 minutes. So depending on what your customers are doing as part of their twin center, then they've got the options.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I suppose I was going to say, oh, if you took the one in Valletta, it's really handy if you're staying in Valletta, but like, it's not that much of an ordeal to get kind of further up to the north.
No, not at all. I mean, again, if you've got your customers who are maybe staying in somewhere like St. Julian's or Aura or Bujaba, or even up in the Liha up in the north, then you've got those options of, the Northern Ferry or the Valletta Ferry. So, again, to create that twin center aspect, very nice and easy to navigate. 3 or 4 days in Malta, and then over to Gozo for, again, 3 or 4 days, depending on the duration that they're going for.
That's great. So with that, so you've arrived in Malta, you've maybe spent a night or two exploring that island, and then you're heading over to Gozo, and you've just gotten a ferry. So what is there to do, or what do you recommend? I know there's a lot, but
see, this is the thing, because Gozo is 10 kilometers by 16 kilometers in terms of length and width, and people seem to think it's maybe just a day trip, but it's small, but it still packs a punch. Some people like to call it Malta's kind of like best kept secret. I like to think of it as like our stunning little sister island, which we alluded to before. There's just an abundance of things to be found on the island, and the touristic offering is still very different to what the main island of Malta has to offer. So a lot of people will then assume, oh, well, if I've done it on Malta, I can do it on Gozo, or why would I do it on Gozo? But again, even coming down to things like, I'll come onto the food in a little bit, but things like in the gastronomy scene, they have a Goziton platter, which is a different style of food that is presented when you're out there, and it's produce that is only found over in Gozo. I suppose when you first get on there, the big main sites would be things like Gigantia temples, which is our Neolithic ruins. They date back to about 6000 BC, and they were the world's oldest freestanding stone structures. Although I did watch a program recently, which was looking at the Neolithic temples all around Malta and around Gozo. And when you look at the way they're facing, they're all facing throughout this course of time what's called the dog star that's found in the night sky. It's kind of the brightest star. And Gigantia isn't facing that dog star for the time that it fits within what they think it was built in. And actually, you have to go back to about 10 to 12,000 BC for it to be facing that star. So they could even be older than the 6,000 years. So I'm hoping we can reclaim that crown of the, oldest freestanding stone structures. But so you've got the temples in there, the Neolithic temples. When you're going around, there's some quirky little ones as well. There's actually a toy museum that's run by a British couple over there, and I've got to get this right, it's called the Pomsky-Zilius Museum of Toys, so it's something a little bit different in there. You've then got your kind of watchtowers that have been built by the Knights. We've actually got a windmill that was built by the Knights, and it's the oldest windmill that can be found on the island. So as you're walking around, you can discover these quirky little kind of different sites. We've then got your cliff tops. So you've got things like Tatanch Cliffs and Zanat Cliffs, which are on the south and the west coast. So again, beautiful walking locations, to take in the sights, to take in the fauna, to take in the wildlife. And as you're walking along these, you will then discover the little villages as you go around. And with these little villages comes the little bays that you can go through, so you can relax on the beaches. And yes, there is beaches over in Gozo. You can take in all the sights of there. And I mean, again, the island is steeped in history. So, for example, one of my favorite beaches is Ramla Bay over on the north side.
So one of your favorite beaches is Ramla Bay.
One of my favorite beaches is Ramla Bay, absolutely. And the reason it's one of my favorites is for two reasons, actually. So when you're looking at Ramble Bay, it's a beautiful red sand beach. It's stunning. It's nice and easy to get to. And, you know, there's plenty of space for everyone that's on there. But on one end, if for those that have read Homer's epic, The Odyssey, Ulysses, when he was captured by the nymph Calypso and imprisoned for 7 years, the Calypso's cave can be found in Malta. So you can't actually go into the cave, you can get up above it. But again, there's that little bit of history and that tie-in.
Right, yeah.
You then go to the other side of Ramla Bay and you've got this beautiful, beautiful cave called Palmixta Cave, which you can actually go into. There's been a DJ set that's actually been held in there with stunning scenery all around. And you can sit in there and just relax and enjoy the view. And you can climb up to it from Ramla Bay and you can climb from the cave down to Ramla Bay. Okay. And I was there in August last year, and after the DJ set, I was like, I want to go spend my birthday in this cave. And I actually went and spent my birthday partly in the cave enjoying the views. And people were like, what did you do on your birthday? I was like, I was in a cave. And they were just like, well, okay, fair enough. But it was that special that was something that I wanted to do, you know, for a long, long time. So, so again, you've got quite a few options around Ramla, and that's probably why it's one of my favorite beaches, or probably my favorite beach over in Gozo.
And another question I just wanted to ask you here, it was the name of the Neolithic temple in Gozo that's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
So that is that Gigantia temple. So so with the temples, as I say, you've got Gigantia and you've got a few other ones. So Gigantia, the name actually comes from sort of Maltese for giant, and that's rumored to be that a giant built the temple, such as the impressive nature of the structure. So the ruins, some of them weigh up to about 50 tons, and it's kind of like that pyramid aspect. They don't know how they built them and how they brought the stones over. And certainly from the museum that's attached, when you see how it kind of looked, it was certainly an impressive structure. And I mean, these are people that were, you know, classed as almost like Neanderthals, you know, we're talking Bronze Age, and they then built these great structures. So it is a very much, you know, pyramids of Giza, Neolithic temples of Malta, you know, we have our own stats. But that's just some of the actual sites that you can take in. Then you move into the activities that you can do on the island. So, you know, the diving in Malta and Gozo, I would even say it's better than the diving in Malta. Probably going to get shot for saying that. But some of the reefs and the wrecks that can be found around Gozo are second to that. There's actually a Phoenician wreck that you can find off, and it's about 2,500 years old, that you can dive at. You've got the Jalendi Tunnel, which is this sort of impressive, again, tunnel, but it's a cave that you can go through, stretches for about 25-30 meters, and you can take in the underwater rock formations and the wildlife under there, including things like the moray eel or the octopi that can be found around there. So again, great options for beginner divers as well as a little bit more advanced divers. One that's always popular on our fan trips is Yippee tours. And I believe you've got a little video of Yippee tours that you can share with the guys there. So Yippee Tours is run by a guy called Sandro, and they have a number of drivers who are all British speaking or probably even British. We've had some loud Mancunians before taking us around the island. And as you can see from the video, they've got an amazing array of offers to get you around to see the island. So they've got these little electric, I suppose, go-karts, you could call them, or three-wheel go-karts. They've got tuk-tuks, they've got sort of Jeep options in there as well, and they can take you around and show you the islands in a very different way. And I know how excited a lot of people have been on these. When we did the Irish trip last year with Michelle McManus, it's probably well known with her pink hair, and you know, the guy who was driving, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've got someone with pink hair. I'm going to be back in a second. And while we were eating, he went away, came back with a pink tuk-tuk just for Michelle, which I found absolutely hysterical. So I love that kind of aspect. So yeah, it's a great way to see the island as part of Yippee. We've then got other options. So when you're going around the island, you can hire things like a car, you can hire quad bikes, you can hire motorbikes, you can hire Jeeps to get you around, even those kind of like dune buggy kind of styles to get you around the island. So plenty of different options for, you know, maybe the sort of more adventurous market or even family market. You then to take in the horse riding. We got Gozo's been recognized for its rock climbing. So we have, I think, something like 300 odd rock faces to be found around kind of Gozo that you can climb at. You then take in obviously our water sports. So you've got things like kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, windsurfing that can all be done around there. So it is a very adventurous kind of spot. And there's another company over there called Gozo Adventures who we've used in the past, and they've done archery with us, or segways, or e-biking, or just normal biking. And, you know, it's quite great to walk around, or I say walk around, cycle around and discover again, like the little villages of Saint Laurent, so the little villages of Marcelfort, Mergelendy, you know, and see it from a different kind of way. And again, because the island's only 10 kilometers by 16 kilometers, you can get around the island, you know, in a day cycling tour, which I think is a great way to do it. And then as you sort of then maybe find yourself getting hungry, you can, you know, after all these activities that you've done, you've then got something like Gozo Picnics. Anna, who runs Gozo Picnics, and for those that have watched either my webinars or trainings before, they know how much I rave about Gozo Picnics because the food is phenomenal. Anna does this unique offering where she'll meet you at a location, draw up this beautiful picnic for you with all this home cooked food, and also the, you know, all the produce is local to Gozo, and she just leaves you and you have this picnic for 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes it's a bottle of bubbly. She offers 3 different menus, so you can have an Asian menu, you can have a vegetarian menu, and it's just for those that are maybe looking for something a little bit more unique or for something for a special occasion. It is absolutely fantastic. You've then got going into sort of like your restaurants. So a lot of the restaurants over on Gozo are absolutely stunning. Maldonado's in Victoria, in the capital, is absolutely beautiful. And if George doesn't know about wine, then it's not worth knowing. Il Cartel up in Marcelfort, up in the north, the portions are absolutely humongous. So if you've worked up your appetite cycling or walking, and you find yourself, you know, maybe you've hiked the hill up outside Marcelfort to the risen Jesus statue that's up there, or risen Christ, I believe it's called, which is 1/5 the size of Christ the Redeemer in Rio.
Wow.
So, which it's quite a good fact that. If you've done that little hike up there and enjoyed the views, and you back down at Il Cartel, beautiful for kind of the food in that aspect as well. And then you've still got things like the seaside sort of bakeries, and you've got the seaside little village towns and the pizzerias and the pasticieries. You know, you've still got that village square aspect, so you can really immerse yourself in with the local culture. So there's plenty of options to go around and enjoy what you're about. I feel like that was a long speech for me.
Yeah. Very well. That's quite a lot of information.
Yeah, sorry guys.
And so when it comes to accommodation, like I always found kind of Gozo, when I was kind of there before, like people were kind of saying it's a lot like, say, going over to, say, the west of Ireland.
Right.
You know, it's a lot more kind of, it's a little bit more rural.
Yeah.
Your kind of Euro goes a lot further as well. And it goes quite far in Malta, as is, compared to over here. But it goes even further in Gozo. So there's kind of like accommodation prices are a little bit more reasonable.
They're a little bit more reasonable, and certainly the offering in Gozo is a little bit different. So, you know, obviously in Malta, we do have pretty much 3, 4, 5, you know, all-inclusive things like that. Whereas over on Gozo, you've got a few different options in terms of luxury boutique properties. So you've got the Kempinski, you've got the Duke, you've got Tassench, which are, to name a few. But probably the main core kind of product that you find out there would be things like the villas and the farmhouses. And this is where I think it then leads into itself as a great multi-center and staying there for 3 or 4 days. Because if you do a hotel, let's say in Valletta or somewhere like Slima over in main island Malta, you've done your hotel aspect. You want something that's a little bit different. So then you can go over to the Gozo and you can stay in these villas. And these villas range from 1-bedroom sort of traditional townhouses. You can then go up into 2, 3-bedroom sort of farmhouses, and then move into sort of like 6, 7-bedroom contemporary sort of like villas, you know, like what we would normally expect. And that gives you an option, especially for the family market, or maybe groups of friends who are over for something like a festival, who can then go and relax with their private pool. They've got their, you know, barbecue, they've got their terraces, they've got, as I said, the private pool, they've got views depending on where they're staying, they've got access to the little villages, they've got access to the beach, and, you know, quite a lot of them come with sort of your own parking. So if you have hired a car, you've got that option. And certainly the prices that I've looked at Villa Holidays over on Gozo are very, very comparable to, you know, anywhere else in the Mediterranean, and if not better value, I would personally say. And I love the idea of, like, you know, the traditional stonework, the kind of vaulted ceilings, the wood beams, and, you know, that really rustic vibe, you know. And maybe that's just the Scottish in me, and I'm thinking of a castle, you know. So, but certainly those options that you've got in there are perfect for whatever you need.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, thanks so much, Peter, for all that wealth of information you just given us there.
It's flat, right? I mean, there's still so much more that I could go on about, but I know that we are pressed for time. I mean, one thing that I will just quickly mention is just some of the events that we get over on Gozo. So, you know, we are talking things like Carnival. We just had Carnival recently over on Gozo and Nador, and it was 65,000 people went over from Malta over to Gozo to go and attend this Carnival. You've then got obviously Easter, Christmas, all of your sort of religious holidays, being a religious island, which are very important. We get musical concerts, including things like a Boat on the Rock that goes over on there, and your operas. The biggest one probably, again, and people who have heard me going on about this before, is your village festas, a village feast. Some of the most notable ones will be for this year in Mushar, which is in late May. We've got the Assumption of Our Lady. We've got the St. George Martyr. There's a whole list of them that really, really go through. So yeah, I mean, abundance to do, and that's just on Gozo. We've only talked about Gozo, you know. So but yeah, no. Thank you very much.
So, and before you go, we have to go and have a quick look at some of the questions that have come in. Okay, so I saw one that popped up. Yeah, it was just one question there from Tara Stewart asking, is the Gozo ferry 24 hours?
So the Valletta one isn't. The Valletta one, I think the last one is about midnight that it gets back in. The one up in Turcoa, it is sort of 24 hours during the summer months. Right, so during the summer months, it will shuttle back and forth. Sometimes they might have a break at like between 2 and 4 in the morning at the very unsociable hours. Obviously during kind of the winter months, because it is a year-round destination, it then becomes a little bit more weather dependent. So, you know, if there is a bit of a choppy sea, then they might reduce the service from every 20 minutes to maybe every hour. And they might stop it at maybe like midnight and it picks back up at 6 in the morning. But certainly for, you know, like those late nights and early mornings, you have those options in there, you know, all the way through it. And certainly, as I say, during the main months, the summer months, you've got well into the late nights. And this is one of the things I even forgot to mention, is that for stargazing, Gozo is actually one of the best places to go on the archipelago because of the low light pollution. So if you've got someone who's done the picnic, who's done the adventures, who's gone out in the evening, had a bit of food, gone and done some stargazing, they can still come back at, you know, 2, 3, 4 in the morning and get themselves back over.
Okay, that's brilliant. It's brilliant to know. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions here. So feel free, as I said before on the last webinar, Peter himself used to be a travel agent, so he's used to getting all sorts of questions from the customers. So if your customers out there have hit you up with any bizarre questions, now's your time to get it answered by our Malta experts.
We get asked. I mean, as an agent, you get asked all the weird and wonderful things, don't you? So, and then you get the weird and wonderful complaints afterwards when they come back and they're shocked by it. So,
so I've got another one here. Can you let us know how much the tuk-tuks are in Gozo? So that's the Yippee.
I mean, the Yippee adventures completely vary because it depends on group size. It depends on the time of year, obviously high versus low season. And it can also depend on, you know, how many you take as part of the group. If that's the case that, you know, they're very into, and that's something that you really want to get, I can get the information and I can send it over to you. Some of this information can be found on the Visit Malta website. Some of the information can be found on the Visit Gozo website as well, specifically for there. So things like the walking trails and some of the adventure stuff that can be found over on their website. So yeah, I'd have a little look at that. I don't know the exact figure and I wouldn't want to, you know, completely wrong on that.
I know that the website there, I have it written down, it's yippiemalta.com. So if you go in there, it kind of gives you a breakdown of all the various transport options, and they do kind of, you can actually rent out your own personal like mini Jeep, which is kind of cool, quirky little Jeep, and I think you can rent that out for 6 hours, so that's something that could be a lot of fun. Okie dokie, let's scroll through. So I've got someone here looking for any recommendations for kind of teenage kids, 15 and 19-year-olds. They're spending 2 nights post-cruise. Do you have any recommendations?
Are they staying on Gozo or are they staying in Malta? You know, like that's That's the question. If they're staying in Gozo, then I mean, realistically, you're going to be looking at doing something like Yippee or Gozo Adventures. You know, those are activity based that it can be done. So like the archery, the segways, the e-biking. I mean, we did it last year as part of our sort of Malta Academy trip, which we've got Irish agents on this year as well, and they loved it. I mean, on the way over, we said, "Oh, we're taking you and chucking you off a cliff," and they went, "Excuse me, what's going on?" And then we did abseiling as part of the trip and as part of Gozo Adventures. So we literally threw them off a cliff. So if you've got the teenagers who are that kind of active style, then yeah, you've got the water sports, you've got those, you know, those hiking, those biking, those rock climbing aspects in there, depending on what the kids are into. Gozo's been a location for some of the film tourism that we have as well. So you can actually do little film tours around, and again, you've got that nice easy option to either go over to Malta, go over to even Camino, the other island with the Blue Lagoon. Plenty of options for those teenage aspects.
Yeah, I'd definitely be a big fan of the kind of the film tour. It's something I definitely want to do next time I'm over, because I don't know, the new Jurassic World was just shot there. Was it Domination?
Dominion, Jurassic World Dominion was last year. We've just had Madame Blanche that was filmed there, and that's now on ITV or something like that. And that Gozo's, it was actually filmed predominantly on Gozo, and it's meant to be the French Riviera in the actual program. But it was Gozo.
That happens a lot with Malta and Gozo, because I know like World War Z, the Brad Pitt movie, that was Jerusalem. That was Malta.
Yeah, we quite often get done as Jerusalem, Constantinople, those kind of like Byzantine kind of eras.
Gladiator as well.
Yeah, Gladiator was in there as well. Troy, part of that was filmed in there as well. So yeah, and we can go back to Popeye and even like the kind of Monte Cristo, you know, things like that. Depends on how far back you want to go. So
yeah, I definitely recommend one of those film tours. So I'll have another quick look here, and Margaret McBride is just asking, how is the weather late in the season? Or it's kind of a year-round destination.
It is a year-round destination, and the best thing about it is that every season has its own perks that come with it. So, I mean, in all honesty, January and February are the coldest months. Even with that, it's about 16, 17 degrees.
Right.
So, and during then, you're going to get a little bit more rain at some certain points, but then that then alludes into, you know, sort of the greenery and the fauna and the wildlife that you're going to get around there. And you start to see the harvesting kind of come back in. You know, your springs and your autumns, they're very, very mild, often 20s, mid to late 20s on a good day as well. Certainly sort of like your even early Octobers, or you're into your 30s still. And that means that you can go out and explore without it being too sort of like Mediterranean hot. And then obviously your summers are very, very hot. But to give you an example, I mean, I was there for over New Year's with my friends. So I took 3 of my mates out for the first time to Malta. New Year's Day, or the 2nd of January, we went over to Camino, and we actually did the Blue Lagoon with the guys. It was 22 degrees. It was blue skies. We were swimming in the Blue Lagoon, and that was the day after New Year's Day. You know, so that was perfect for a little winter break. And my mates are all Scottish, so they were like, this is unheard of, we're not used to this. So you can go as a year-round destination, and you know, the scuba diving is better in the winter. I would say the cycling is better in the kind of springtime. You know, it depends on what your customers are looking to do.
Yeah. Brilliant. And I've got another question there. Hang on one sec.
You said it'd be a couple.
I know. They're very curious. So one of the guys there, hang on, where's it's popped off the screen, was just asking where you'd recommend to stay in Gozo.
I mean, again, it's going to vary on what you're looking to kind of do. Like if you're looking to have a great base on the island, then you know you can stay in somewhere like Hjar, which is where the ferry pulls in. So you've got access to the ferry port, you've got access to the rest of the island through the bus links, etc. If you're looking for that city aspect, you can stay in Victoria, the capital of Gozo, with the Cittadella, and you've got, you know, the ruins up the top there. You've got the views around the island, you've got the restaurants, you've got the piazzas, the bars. If you're looking for the country and kind of like quaint picturesque life, you can stay in Schlendi or Marseille or Saint Laurent, or, you know, in Nador. You've got multiple options. So again, it depends on your customers, but you've got options from, you know, the hustle and bustle of the kind of city life to the kind of like rural, rustic kind of aspect, or you can do that farmhouse in the complete middle of nowhere and have some complete seclusion if you want. So again, it's going to be based on your customers' kind of preferences. So
So I remember when I was there before, we stayed at, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this. It's Marlsleford.
Yeah, Marlsleford. Yeah.
I thought that was absolutely stunning.
It is. I mean, you've got little restaurants along the waterfront. You've got a little beach area. You know, it's almost like in the form of a shape of a U, and you've got the dramatic cliff tops or cliffs that rise up from it. As I say, Il Cartel, one of my favorite restaurants out there, is in Marlsleford. The food there is just the food there is good, but it's also the portion sizes are massive, which are perfect for my requirement. So Marlsleford is beautiful. It's a great little option. Yeah, somewhere like that, Schlendy, San Lawrence, those kind of areas, you know, even Chikiwi, those kind of places you can all stay in.
Brilliant. Well, that's great, Peter. Thanks so much for that. And just to recap, we've got the competition as well. So
you have a competition, yeah.
So our very generous host, Peter, and the team at Gozo and Visit Malta. We've got a 4-night fam, is it?
Yeah. So what we've done is there's going to be 2 questions. The answers have been in the presentation. So I think the questions are my favorite beach and also the name of the Neolithic temples. So you get the opportunity. The competition closes at the end of this month, and it's to win a spot, win one of 8 places on a fam trip. It's from, I believe, the 4th to the 8th of May. We're doing 2 nights in Malta, 2 nights in Gozo. So it's going to be really unique in the sense that every fam trip we've done so far, it's usually a day trip into Gozo. And this is the first fam that I've seen, certainly in the couple of years I've been here, that will actually include an overnight in Gozo, which is going to be, so again, it's unique. So I would highly recommend getting yourself involved in it. It'll be flights out of Dublin. So it'll be 8 agents going out, and you'll be hosted by Visit Gozo and the Gozo Tourism Authority. So yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity. So I'm really trying to pedal that I go along on it. I think at the moment, I think I've got something else. We've just done another fam trip like the week before. So I'm really pushing to hopefully get on there.
Brilliant. So guys, anyone that has signed up for today's webinar, they'll get a follow-up email in the next while, and it'll give you details about the competition. And I suppose with that, I just wanted to ask you maybe 2 last questions, Peter.
You can ask anything you want, Shane.
Maybe what's your favorite beach out in Gozo?
That's a good one. It's a good one. But it's that beach on the north side that's, you know, near Calypso's Cave and Tomishta Cave. So yeah, it's a good little beach.
Oh, right. And if you were to name, like, you know, maybe any UNESCO World Heritage sites that are maybe Neolithical temples.
Oh yeah, those ones. I mean, there's a few around the islands, you know, but certainly there is the one in Gozo that is, you know, named after the Maltese word for giant, you know. That dates back about 7,000 years, back to 5,600 BC. And there is a Netflix documentary on it. So, you know, if you want to go on Netflix and search, I think it's Ancient Wonders of the World or something like that, Wonders of the Ancient World. Episode number 2 is about Malta. You can click on that one as well. So.
Brilliant. Well, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Like, I can't believe we had such a brilliant response, and you were great with all the questions there. And best of luck with the fam trip competition. It sounds like it's going to be absolutely amazing, and there's a full 8 spaces up for grabs, so there's pretty good odds on getting in on this one. So as I said, keep an eye on your inbox. We'll also be putting out this video if any of you guys going to join slightly late, and we'll be putting out the video on social media as well as on our website, so keep an eye out for that. So with that, thanks a million, Peter.
No, it's all right. Thanks very much for having me. As I say, I'll see you next year, I suppose.
Yeah. And also, we'll be seeing you in Dublin for the ITAA.
Correct. Yeah. End of this month is the ITTAs in the Gresham again, isn't it? So yes, I will be over for the event. So if anyone wants to pop along and come and say hi to me and ask me any questions, then yeah, by all means. So and I suppose I'll be seeing you there as well, won't I?
Brilliant.
Yes, perfect. We don't have to wait a year this time, do we?
No, we won't. All right. Thanks a million, guys, and thank you so much for you.
No worries. Thank you very much, Shane, and thanks to ITTN.